All right, welcome into episode 7. Ann and Scott, once again, I want to thank you for following along with us on this year-round journey. It's Rhymer on the Road at Instagram, right? You're enjoying that?
It is, yes. I've been posting some stuff.
And you get a little bit of ahead of the video sometimes with some of your posts.
I do, with where we're at maybe that day. I don't do everything, but at maybe one location we've gone to, I'll try to post a little something about.
Yeah, so if you want a little bit of an insider of where we're headed, maybe Rhymer on the Road on Instagram is where you go. And of course, you're on YouTube right now, so thanks for being a part of that. Before we get to our review of Fredericksburg, Virginia, it is time to announce where we're headed to, and that is Hampton Falls, which is kind of on the border of New Hampshire and Massachusetts. It's south of Portsmouth, north of Salem, and kind of in the general vicinity of Gloucester and Rockport and all those sea towns. So that's our next stop. So we're still hugging the coast, heading north, and we want some advice on what to do in this area, right?
Correct. Because I have done, no research.
No, none.
None. I haven't
done any. This one we're going to really need your help then for it. So, and then we're going to also have an announcement coming soon that one of our daughters is going to be joining us right after the next trip. We'll get to that a little bit later. But for now, it is episode 7, a review of Fredericksburg, Virginia.
The Battle of Fredericksburg was a key moment in the Civil War. Union forces were led by Major General Ambrose E. Burnside, while the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia was under the command of General Robert E. Lee. The arrival of pontoon bridges across the Rappahannock were delayed, and that was critical and necessary for the river crossing. And that allowed General Lee time to position his troops on the hills overlooking Fredericksburg. Confederate soldiers under the direction of General Lee took the high ground here at Mary's Heights on what is known as the Sunken Road, where these stone fences are located to have great firing angles down upon the Union soldiers in the town of Fredericksburg as they cross the Rappahannock River. The Battle of Fredericksburg was a decisive Confederate victory. The Union retreat marked a low point for Northern morale. For the Confederacy, the victory boosted morale and reinforced their strategic position.
All right, what you got there, Ann?
I've got some pet CBD. We're trying to relax Leo a little bit. He's getting a little anxious. We left him today, and he's not super happy about it. So,
how do we know he's anxious?
Well, because I have the pet monitor. I've been watching him.
How often do you watch him when we're gone?
I mean, every 10, 15 minutes.
Maybe every 5 minutes you're looking at him.
Nah.
So we're going to try to drug him up so he sleeps while we're gone.
We're going to try to get him a little relaxed. Yeah, knock the edge off.
I think this is our first ever purchase of a CBD, and it's not for either one of us.
That's right.
Okay, we're at Westmoreland State Park in Virginia, and it's going to take us a little hike here in just a second, but this is the visitor center, which is very helpful. Had restrooms. I think we paid $7 to get in here, and what you see in the distance there is the historic Potomac River. And on the other side, if I'm right, is Maryland.
Yeah.
So you're looking at Maryland from Virginia.
Okay, so we're here at Chatham, just like yesterday at Fredericksburg National Battlefield site. Both free, right here in Fredericksburg. Pretty cool.
Yeah, this one was a nice little surprise. Great view of downtown, cool house, gardens, lots of beautiful big trees. Yeah, no, it was a good little stop. I'm glad we got to do it for free. It's even better.
Yeah, free's always good. There's the house. And there's Fredericksburg off in the distance. Chatham, overlooking Fredericksburg, Virginia. This particular location has been known by many people through the years, but during the Civil War and the bombardment of Fredericksburg below us, this was a hospital for the Union. It was set up over here on this side of the Rappahannock, looking down upon Fredericksburg below us. And as you can see, this is the high ground until they got on the other side of the river when the Confederates had the high ground. Part of the fields here at Chatham that, of course, were plowed and sod and replanted each year by slaves prior to the Civil War. Chatham in the background right there, but what's cool about this is that these fields are still being operated. Obviously, no longer by slaves. Okay, so I've only camped, I don't know, 15 or 20 times in my life, and on this, now that we start this journey, I'm going to become way more experienced and going to have a plethora of ideas that I don't currently have. So I'm not an expert, and even if I was an expert in camping, I don't think it's right to criticize or overanalyze how other people camp and how other people set up. And I certainly would never go to that person that's set up for camping and critique them or tell them the way they're doing it isn't right or isn't the best way. It's just not my DNA. I think everybody's kind of has to learn their own ways, and that's kind of how I wish I was treated, as a newbie to this. But I do know this. Here in Fredericksburg, we had a what looked like a brand new fifth wheel, just a few sites down from us, that when they set up, their wheels were literally off the ground. Their back jacks were up so high, their stabilizer jacks, that they had actually gotten both of their rear axle wheels off the ground on one side of the camper. And that is just not good for two reasons. Number one, that's putting a tremendous strain on your jacks, more than it needs to have. The other thing is you want your wheels down to help with the stabilization of your rig. I think the perfect balance is getting your wheels, having your wheels remain on the ground and your stabilizers firmly on the ground, and you're being supported by both your stabilizers and your wheels. But under no circumstance do I think it would be best practice to have your wheels off the ground. So I don't know if they were newbies. I don't know. I did, as I said, I'm not. That's not my business to address other people. I'm not smart enough at all of this to be able to do that. But I do know that your RV wheels need to be on the ground when you're camping. Okay, this is Mary Washington's home. Mary Washington is the mother of George Washington. Of course, built in 1772. She lived there till 1789. We're gonna go check it out. All right, what's the name of this place?
Vitalis.
Okay.
Vitalis. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right.
This looks like massive slices of pizza.
Pretty good. Here's my sunglasses.
Holy smokes. The Battle of Gettysburg was a major engagement of the American Civil War, fought from July 1st until July 3rd, 1863, around Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It is widely considered the turning point of the Civil War. The Union Army of the Potomac was led by Major General George Meade, and he faced off against Confederate General Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia. This battle marked the end of Lee's attempt to invade the North and resulted in a Union victory. With over 50,000 combined casualties, Gettysburg was the bloodiest battle of the Civil War. 4 months after the Battle of Gettysburg, President Abraham Lincoln delivered his famous speech honoring the fallen soldiers, outlining the Union's cause.
We're in the Gettysburg National Cemetery, and this is the spot where Abraham Lincoln gave his famous, maybe the most iconic political speeches in the history of the United States, the Gettysburg Address. He would have been looking right out here. Very cool. All right, there you go. There's a summary of our time in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and your initial thoughts on that area of the world.
Well, I mean, it's very pretty. And what I think surprised me the most is being so close to Washington, D.C. I kind of felt like it was going to be more built up. But really, there was a lot of country land out there, a lot of farmland, a lot of forest. I don't know. It just kind of surprised me because we took Waze took us a lot of back roads when we were driving around in the truck, and I just thought it was going to be a little bit more built up. I mean, it was once you got into an area, it would be, but there was just a ton of land still out there.
I think you mentioned that you felt like we were just south of Washington, D.C., and you thought it would just be neighborhoods and suburbs and all of that.
I did,
and it wasn't.
And it wasn't. It wasn't. At least not the area we were. But I mean, we were right outside Fredericksburg, and it just surprised me. And then, of course, the quaint downtown colonial Fredericksburg was exactly what I expected, and I loved it.
Yeah, Fredericksburg, really cool downtown.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed that. Of course, part of the reason we stopped in Shenandoah and also in Fredericksburg is just because of some of the Civil War stuff. I'm kind of a buff of that, and I've read so many books, and so I think you've got to be a little bit into that to enjoy not only Fredericksburg, but some of the surrounding areas. We didn't even go into Chancellorsville. That's another whole great place for Civil War people. But then we swung back through Gettysburg on our way to our boondock. And I think you've got to enjoy the Civil War stuff to kind of appreciate Fredericksburg and that part of it a little bit.
I think to a point, but I think it offered more than that. I think people would enjoy it,
even if you're not a Civil War person.
Even if you're not, and there were hiking opportunities, and we ended up doing a hike. It's a good could be a good history lesson for someone who's maybe not as familiar with it.
Speaking of hikes, kind of out of the blue, we went to Westmoreland State Park, which I thought was a really cool, easy hike.
Yes.
But then it was kind of a surprise.
Scott wanted to see the Potomac.
I wanted to see the Potomac.
We had to find a place to see the Potomac.
And I was stunned at how large or wide the Potomac was at that area. I mean, Maryland was on the other side of the Potomac, but it was hard to see that far away. It's obvious why our founding fathers chose, after they left New York City, Washington, D.C. as the capital, because, Potomac is just a massive waterway.
It is.
And finally, Gettysburg to me was just kind of like one of those aha moments. I know it's not really in Fredericksburg, and so it's not really a part of the surrounding area. But it was on our way to up north and Allentown. But that's such a historic place, and that was just a really cool moment. And to be able to kind of stand, we had Leo with us, so we kind of got separated at one time, me and you, but I was able to stand literally in the spot where Abraham Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address, which may be the most, no question, the best political speech in the history of the world, and certainly the United States. So that was really cool to go to Gettysburg.
It was really pretty.
Yes.
Rolling hills, green grass, all the different little farmhouses. It was restored very nicely. I didn't go into the visitor center. I think you popped in, but just the hiking and the walking around was just beautiful. Now, obviously, it was on, a former battlefield where a lot of people died, and so it was a little sombering, but it was beautiful.
Yeah, I give a lot of credit to the National Park System for what they've done at Gettysburg. It's obviously they've put a lot of thought into it, and it's very well manicured and just respectfully done. So,
and it had parking for RVs. So,
yes.
That's a bonus, and if you're interested in going and you're pulling an RV, you definitely had room to park.
And we parked right beside the North Carolina Tar Heels basketball team. Well, we don't know if it's a basketball team or not. But
it was their bus. It said North Carolina Tar Heels basketball. I grew up a Tar Heel fan, married into a Clemson Tiger family, so now I'm a Tiger fan, but I still like my Tar Heels.
All right, real quickly, two other things before we get out of here on episode 7. We stayed in the KOA, Fredericksburg, Washington, D.C. South.
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
And by the way, the people were awesome. When
Yes.
Tell what happened when we pulled in. It was really funny.
Well, I had gone to check in, and as I was coming out, the person who was going to escort us to our camping spot had just taken a picture of our QR code. And so had just looked us up and was all excited. And then I think later as we were setting up, maybe him and he brought his wife by, and she was getting onto our website as well, our YouTube channel. So, hey.
Great people.
That's right, yeah.
I encourage you, by the way, he was about to start up a YouTube as well as a camp host. I encourge you to do that. I hope you do that. And thanks again for following along with us.
Super nice people.
Yeah.
Good location.
Yep.
The spots were a little bit closer together, but shaded, good amenities, so I would for sure stay there again. Yeah,
and a good location to get to everything that you'd want to do in terms of Fredericksburg and the surrounding areas. Then we did a boondock, and I put that in air quotes because it's really not a boondock, because we swung through Gettysburg on our way to Allentown, Pennsylvania, before we made it to Newport, Rhode Island, and had a great stay there too, right?
It was just a night, one night, full hookup. And it was
Pine Hill RV
Park, I think, and it was right off
resort.
Yes, I think so. Right off the interstate. Nice big lots. Well, maybe not big lots, but it was very well manicured, big rig friendly for sure.
Yes.
Pull through sites, so very easy to navigate. And I don't remember seeing a ton of amenities, but it's great if you were going to wanted to be somewhere in the Amish country, and be a good base to go to and to go into Allentown. I would for sure stay there again. Yeah,
it was right off the interstate, which made it really even the best. And to your point, the Amish country, you're right in the middle of it. We didn't get to do any of that because we were boondocking in that sense from one stop to another. So there you go. Episode 7 is in the books. You know where we're headed, a little bit north of Salem, Massachusetts. Hope you'll give us some feedback on that. Look forward to reporting on Newport, Rhode Island, which, by the way, is going to be a 2 thumbs up. Unless something changes between now and the next video, our time here in Newport has been awesome. So
Been fun.
we look forward to sharing that with you. And again, it's Reimer on the Road. Don't forget, do it today.